What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Daniel, and welcome back to our video. Today, I'm doing my really early 2023 NASCAR Cup Series schedule predictions. Let's go and just jump straight into it. We're going to start off by kicking off on February 5th, where we will once again race at the Los Angeles Coliseum. Now, I know that this next year will be the first time that they'll be racing at the Los Angeles Coliseum, but I think in NASCAR we'll see that that event was very successful, and since that Fox is really making decisions in regards to the Los Angeles Coliseum, I think in 2023, the Los Angeles Coliseum will kick off the season on February 5th. Yes, the Super Bowl will not be taking place in Los Angeles in 2023, but I think that NASCAR will return to LA Coliseum, with Super Bowl not being the major headline around that event. I think that event will get more attendance in the first year. I think the first year will have quite a bit of attendance, but I think in 2023, we will see the LA Coliseum return and host the Los Angeles Clash, and we'll be having the Clash once again at the LA Coliseum in that event. Then we will have a 1-week break, and then we'll make our return on February 16th after the week of the Super Bowl. We will see the duels at Daytona take place on February 16th for qualifying. Now, there will be qualifying on the day before, on the Wednesday evening, and then the duels at Daytona will take place. Two dual races to decide who gets into the event. I would assume that the entry list by 2023 will be a little bit bigger than 2022, though we'll probably see quite a few people that are going to enter into to try to enter for the Daytona 500. Then we'll have the duels at Daytona on February 16th. Right after that, we'll see the Daytona 500 on February 19th. You'll have the Xfinity Series, the Truck Series race on February 17th. Then you'll have the Xfinity Series and the ARCA race on February 18th. And then February 19th will be the Daytona 500, which will be the Great American Race. That is, of course, during President's Day weekend, which will be on February 20th on that Monday. We will see the Daytona 500 take place on February 19th. That was when the Daytona 500 will happen. Then a week after, on February 26th, we will begin the West Coast Swing, and that will start kickoff with the Auto Club Short Track. In 2022, NASCAR will have the Cup Series take place at Auto Club International Speedway on the 2-mile track in composition. Now, originally, the short track was actually supposed to happen next year in 2022, but NASCAR decided to make the decision to have Auto Club take place as a short track in 2023 and move it from 2022 to 2023. This will be the first time the Auto Club will be a short track. I think in the future, Auto Club could be the season finale, but I think NASCAR will kick off their program, the West Coast Swing program, at least for 2023, as a short track for Auto Club. I think that is where it will happen. And then the week after, on March 5th, we will go to Las Vegas Motor Speedway for the first of 2 races. Now, I know a lot of people are wanting Vegas maybe lose one of the dates. Unfortunately, there's a contract obligation where Las Vegas has to have a cut day, I believe, for the year 2031. They signed a contract obligation with South Point through 2031, so we have to have a track there regardless of the situation there. So, Las Vegas will host their second race of the West Coast Swing on March 5th. Then right after that, on March 12th, we will go to Phoenix Raceway, where we'll keep our traditional day for the final race of the West Coast Swing. Phoenix will also continue to have 2 dates going into 2022, especially with how good the attendance is. Phoenix will host the Cup Series race on March the 12th. Right after March 12th at Phoenix Raceway, we'll stay kind of in the West Coast Swing area, but we'll go down to the Southwest in a little bit, and we will race at Circuit of the Americas. I think Circuit Americas is going to move back a week earlier than what it is next year. COTA in 2022 will take place on March 25th, but March 26th, or March 27th. But NASCAR, I think, is going to make a decision to move Circuit Americas a little bit earlier as they go west a little bit. COTA, I think, will put on a pretty good event. Also, reason I think COTA was being moved back a little bit earlier, I think, is for weather situations and better weather in the middle of March. You tend to not have as much weather in the middle of March in Texas as you do in the latter parts of March or in the early May. So I think COTA will take place after Phoenix. Right after Circuit Americas, we will go back out to the east, and we will go to Atlanta Motor Speedway for the only time in 2023. I think NASCAR is going to go ahead and cut one of the dates from Atlanta Motor Speedway. I think I look back at 2021, and NASCAR has sent a warning shots that NASCAR is going to start cutting tracks and dates from tracks that do not meet the 70% attendance requirement, and NASCAR will start cutting dates. And I think Atlanta Motor Speedway is going to fit in that fold. And I think Atlanta Motor Speedway is going to lose their cup date, one of their cup dates, in 2023. I think that they're going to get back to 1 day. I don't think their attendance day deserves to have 2 days considering the attendance. They're also going to be going to that new configuration in 2022. But I think Atlanta Motor Speedway will have its only day in 2023 at Atlanta Motor Speedway in March. Right after March 26th at Atlanta Motor Speedway, we are going to go to Richmond Racing on April 2nd. on April 2nd, excuse me. And just like Atlanta Motor Speedway, they're only going to have their only date on April 2nd in the spring. Richmond's attendance apparently was not really that good for their second date, and I think Richmond especially is going to lose the day. Again, the racing, not to mention, I don't think that Richmond does deserve 2 dates at all. I think the track only deserves 1 day. And plus, I think if they do get cut back to 1 day, more people will be able to go to that for their only race, and more attendance is going to show up in that event. So I think in 2023, NASCAR is going to cut one of the days from Richmond, and they will host it on April 2nd at Richmond Raceway. Right after April 2nd, the week after on April 8th, we will go to Martinsville Speedway. Now, during that weekend is going to be the Easter weekend. But I think NASCAR is actually going to have to let the drivers and the fans have the day off on Easter Day. Next year in 2022, they are going to have the Bristol Dirt Race, which will take place on Easter evening. But I think on April 8th, they'll have it the day before, and they'll have Martinsville before they go into the Easter weekend. You'll have the Truck Series on Thursday evening. You'll have the Xfinity Series race on Friday night, and then you'll have the Cup Series race on Saturday night on April 8th at Martinsville Speedway. And then the week after, on April 16th, we will go to Bristol Motor Speedway for the Bristol Dirt Race. And once again, I think NASCAR is going to go ahead and run this race as a night event. In 2022, NASCAR will be having it on Easter evening, of course, because dirt racing is better at night than it is in the day, and you won't have any of the dust situations that are happening right there. I think Bristol Dirt will take place on April 16th, the week after the Martinsville Speedway. And then on April 23rd, NASCAR after that will head to Talladega Superspeedway for the first of 2 times. Talladega brings a really, really great crowd, and also it's a really great super speedway event, and we'll probably see some great super speedway racing. That will take place on April 23rd. As one of the big events, of course, for Fox. Fox will still be in their television contract with Talladega Superspeedway. I think that Talladega will take place on April 23rd at that track. And then the week after, on April 30th, we will go to Dover Speedway for the only time in 2023. Dover Speedway actually does bring in some really, really good attendance for those events, and apparently going to the track product is better when you're at the racetrack than it is on TV. I don't think the racing has been really good. But again, we haven't seen the next-gen car race, so really are not going to get a really good notion in regards to that. But Dover Speedway, in my opinion, will take place on April 30th. And then on May 7th, we're going to go to Darlington Raceway for the first of 2 times in 2023 for the Darlington Throwback Race. I don't think NASCAR is going to move the Darlington Throwback Race back to the Southern 500 date. I think NASCAR is going to go ahead and continue having the Darlington Throwback Race take place in the spring event, in the 400-mile event. I think Darlington Raceway will take place on May 7th. And then the week later, we're going to see a major, major change. As NASCAR has been alluding to a potential event on a street course, I think NASCAR is going to have their Cup Series, first ever street course race in the Cup Series in a long time on May the 14th in the Chicago streets. Around the Bear Stadium, they will have the street course race. I think a street course event is something that NASCAR has been really targeting for a very, very long time. And I think going into 2023, NASCAR is going to have an event on a street course. It's going to be great for fans. You will see a lot of fans attend the event. Yes, of course, I think Chicago, if the race isn't good, Chicago fans will not be very happy about that. But, like I said, I think NASCAR will have a Cup Series date at the Chicago Street Course in 2023. And then right after that, on May 21st, there is going to be a change in regards to the All-Star Race. Now, for the last couple of years, NASCAR has hosted the All-Star Race at Texas Motor Speedway, which they've hosted in 2021 and 2022 due to the contract obligations where they had to get the All-Star Race because of COTA. But I think NASCAR is going to go ahead and cut the All-Star Race from Texas Motor Speedway due to their attendance problems this past a couple weeks ago at Texas Motor Speedway for the playoff date. And I think that NASCAR is going to give the race All-Star Race from Texas, and they're going to give it to Rockingham Speedway. You hear that right. I think Rockingham Speedway is going to make its return to the NASCAR Cup Series schedule in 2023. The last time a NASCAR race in Rockingham for the Cup Series was 2004, and the last time NASCAR race at Rockingham was back in 2013, and Kyle Larson won that event. Of course, there was controversy with that event, but I think NASCAR will make its return to Rockingham for the All-Star Race. It's a short track. Fans have been wanting that short track essence at an All-Star Race, and I think Rockingham will put on a great show, and I think that if you hear Rockingham making its turn, not to mention Rockingham, unlike a track like North Wilkesboro, Rockingham Speedway is actually a track that is ready to go and ready to get set sailing. So I think that on May 21st, NASCAR will make its turn to Rockingham, and they will remain in the Charlotte area and the North Carolina area as well, which will be not too far from the Charlotte area. Speaking of which, on May 28th, NASCAR will have their traditional Coca-Cola 600, the 600-mile event on May 28th for Memorial Day. That's a track that will not lose any length of their race. I think that we will return on May 28th at the Coke 600. Of course, that makes no sense to change it at all. And I think that NASCAR will continue to have the Coke 600 on the traditional day on May 8th. And then on June 4th, NASCAR is going to return to Worldwide Technology Raceway. Now, Worldwide Technology Raceway has a 3-year deal with Gateway. NASCAR, they have a 3-year deal. Worldwide Technology Raceway, NASCAR does with their partnership. And I think especially after they're expecting that things sell out, I actually am going to be going to the first event at Worldwide Technology Raceway for the Cup Series and my first ever Cup Series event in 2022 ever. And I think that they will once again in 2023 have it on the June 4th weekend. They're going to keep it on traditional day. Worldwide Technology Raceway is a track that I think has deserved a Cup Series day, and they will continue to host an event in 2023. Right after Worldwide Technology Raceway, we're going to head back out to the West Coast, and we are going to race at Sonoma Raceway. Sonoma Raceway, I've been really wanting it to be a little bit earlier in the year, but I think that NASCAR will continue to hold Sonoma Raceway into the later portions of the season. I just think that Sonoma, it's had some pretty good racing on its course. I also think, though, that NASCAR has potential to change it back to the old configuration that they had for many, many years. I think the racing was better on that old configuration, though I think the NASCAR put it back into the traditional carousel course due to what fans really wanted and what fans wanted in that specific area. I mean, I think NASCAR will make its turn to Sonoma on June 11th. And then they will have NASCAR's only off week in the 2023 season on the week of June 18th. And then NASCAR will make its return on June 25th, and they will return to National Super Speedway for the 3rd year in its 4-year contract. National Super Speedway, I think, is a track that absolutely deserves it. Yes, they had issues with parking, but I think by this point, they will be able to get those issues resolved. And I think National Super Speedway will continue to host races on June 25th, the same weekend that they've generally had around the national weekend, and I think they will host their event on June 25th. And then the week after, on July 2nd, NASCAR will head up to Road America on the 4th of July weekend once again. I was really skeptical about Road America hosting the 4th of July event, but after the first year in 2021, I think that this is a tradition that is going to continue happening for many, many years to come. I think NASCAR will continue running at Road America on the 4th of July. I think Road America hosts the 4th of July weekend on July 2nd. And then the week after, on July 9th, NASCAR will have another new road course on the NASCAR Cup Series schedule. Atlanta, like I said, will lose one of their dates. And I think that NASCAR is actually going to go out west, and they're going to go to Portland Raceway. In 2022, the NASCAR Xfinity Series will be racing at Portland Raceway around the June 4th weekend, around the Worldwide Technology Raceway Gateway weekend. The Xfinity Series will be racing at Portland. And I think that if the attendance is really, really good, I think NASCAR is going to consider breaking out into that Pacific Northwest weekend. And I think that on July 20 and July 9th, NASCAR will race for the first time the Cup Series at Portland Raceway, and will join the Xfinity Series for a doubleheader on that weekend, as Atlanta Motor Speedway will lose a date. And I think that that is what will happen. We'll see NASCAR break up into the Pacific Northwest area. Right after that, on July 16th, NASCAR will head to New Hampshire International Speedway on July the 16th. New Hampshire always has had one day. They've actually cut it back in 2018, or cut it back to one day due to attendance problems in 2017. For both events, I think New Hampshire will continue to have a good day. And they've had pretty solid attendance as a whole, but NASCAR itself could cut a day from New Hampshire, their other day from New Hampshire, if attendance does not get better. But New Hampshire will have its only date on July 16th. And then the week after, on July 23rd, NASCAR will return to Pocono Raceway for the only time. NASCAR in 2022 is going to be cutting out the doubleheader, and they will only have one event in 2022. And I think NASCAR continues to go into that direction in 2023. I think Pocono is a track that really hasn't provided the greatest racing. We haven't seen the next gen car race, do not get me wrong, but I think NASCAR will continue to only have one day at Pocono Raceway on July the 23rd. Right after that, on July 30th, NASCAR will head to Indianapolis Motor Speedway. However, I think that NASCAR is going to make a change in regards to it. And I think that NASCAR in 2023 is going to return to traditional oval in 2023. NASCAR in 2021 and 2022, they will be racing on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course due to the racing not being very, very good in bad attendance. However, I do think that NBC and the TV providers are going to want NASCAR to return to the traditional oval, and the ratings really showed from the first event on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course. I think that NASCAR is going to want to make the decision to return to the traditional oval on the breaker, and I think Roger Penske will play a major part into that. Right after that, on August 6th, NASCAR will head to Michigan Speedway. We will go up north and race in the Michigan area, which is not too far from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway area. NASCAR will race at Michigan Speedway for the only time in 2023. I think NASCAR keeps one day at Michigan. They've cut a bit. They cut down Michigan to one day in 2021. And I think going into 2023, for many, many years, NASCAR will only have one race at Michigan. I think the racing hasn't been really good regardless of what configuration or what package you run. Even in the Gen 4 car, which had some pretty good racing in 2012, the racing was not really good even in 2014. The racing was not good for that event as well. I think NASCAR will make its only stop in Michigan in 2023. And then right after that, on August 13th, NASCAR will head to Watkins Glen International Speedway. Watkins Glen will be in 2022. It will be the second to last race before the cutoff race at Daytona International Speedway. However, I think NASCAR is going to move Watkins Glen to be in the 24th race on the NASCAR Cup Series schedule. I think attendance will be really, really good. I think camping grounds will be very good for that event. I think Watkins Glen will continue to hold the state on August 13th. And then NASCAR on August 20th, the week after Watkins Glen, there is actually going to be another new track that is going to be added to the NASCAR Cup Series schedule. I think that the NASCAR Cup Series is going to head to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, also known as Montreal Raceway, where they host the F1 Grand Prix, the Canadian Grand Prix. Circuit Gilles Villeneuve has not hosted a NASCAR date since 2012, when they lost their date in 2012 when their event was moved down to Mid-Ohio. They've hosted a Truck Series event, though, at the Canadian Tire, but I think the Truck Series is actually going to leave Canadian Tire, and they're also going to go to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, Montreal as well. I think if you ask a lot of people, fans have been wanting this track to return to the NASCAR Cup Series schedule, and I think that they're going to get their wish granted. I think that in 2023, NASCAR is going to make the conscious choice and a conscious decision, and I think that they are going to return to Montreal for the first time since 2012, and I think we'll see some great racing there as well. The track always provided great racing, had some controversial finishes like in 2007 in the first time they went there, even 2012 when we saw chaos and crazy racing, and Marcus Ambrose and Jacques Villeneuve get tempers flaring in 2012. I think we'll see Circuit Gilles Villeneuve added to the NASCAR Cup Series schedule in 2023. And then we will go to the final race before the playoffs start. The cutoff race will once again return at Daytona International Speedway on August 26th. Daytona has hosted it for the last couple of years. They've hosted the last race before the playoffs, the cutoff race to get in, and I think NASCAR will continue to hold this tradition. I think it's a really, really good event. I was very skeptical the first year they had the event, but the first event went extremely well, and I think NASCAR will continue to hold the cutoff race for Daytona to decide who will get into the playoffs. I expect the NASCAR will have a lot of drivers that will still be looking to have their way in, and we'll see a lot of chaos and a lot of struggles to get into the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs at Daytona International Speedway. And now let's jump into the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs for 2023. Starting off on September 3rd, NASCAR will continue its tradition, and they will kick it off by running the Southern 500 for the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. I think Southern 500 is here to stay. I think that's one race you should not cut its length of racing. I think the racing has been very, very good at that event, and I think it will kick off the playoffs in 2023. I think you get to see the grit, the traditionalism, and a really awesome race kickoff for the Cookout Southern 500 in 2023. And then the week after, we will go to Kansas Speedway for the only time in 2023. I don't know how much Kansas had issues in regards to attendance, but I think at the second race in 2023 in the playoffs for the round of 16 will be at Kansas Speedway. I think the racing has been great at Kansas, but I think NASCAR will keep Kansas in the middle of the playoffs, in the middle of the round of 16. And Kansas won't be as much of an important event and won't be as big of an air dependencies. And I think that the weather will continue to be very, very good for that event. And then the final race before the round of 16 ends will take place on September 16th at the Bristol Night Race for the cutoff race, the Bass Pro Shops NRA Night Race. This event has been very, very solid. I think that the race this year in 2020 was one of the best races I have ever seen in my time. Tempers flaring after the race. Great playoff coverage. They did a great job in that event. We got to see Kyle Larson win that event. And I think that they will continue that tradition by having the Bristol Night Race take place on September 16th. And then the round of 12 will kick off on September 24th at Texas Motor Speedway for the only time. I'm not sure how attendance will be, but attendance was not very good for the event this past year, and I think that's why they're moving a little bit earlier in the year as well to potentially get better attendance because the NFL season will be pretty much not much into their early portions of the year, and I think Texas will hold its only event on September 14th. Then the week after, on October 1st, NASCAR will make its return to Talladega Superspeedway for that event. I think Talladega is a great racetrack. It's had very great racing, and I think it's a great track to have in the middle of the playoffs. And then on October 8th, NASCAR will end the round of 12 by having the Charlotte Roval be the cutoff race for that event. I know attendance has been a little bit issue for that event, but I think that the racing itself is something that can hold its own ground and can hold its own standard, and I think the Charlotte Roval will be the round of 12 cutoff race in 2023. Right after the Charlotte Roval on October 15th, NASCAR will kick off the round of 8 for the series at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Like I said, Las Vegas Motor Speedway has to have 2 races contractually obligated through 2031, excuse me. So NASCAR will host the round of 8 cutoff race at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. I think the racing will be better. I would assume the NASCAR also will move the race to a little bit earlier in the day because weather won't be as bad in the middle of October compared to having it at the end of September. Las Vegas will host the first race of the round of 8. Right after that, there will be a change. Phoenix International Raceway is going to lose a season finale date in 2023, and I think that Phoenix will become the middle race of the round of 8. I don't think that Phoenix International Raceway is a track that deserves season finale. I think for the first years, I understand why they gave it to them just because they had really, really great attendance and they had a great renovations. But I think NASCAR will make a change and Phoenix will keep 2 dates in 2022 because, like I said, I think attendance has been really, really good. But I think that Phoenix Raceway will host it on October 22nd. Right after that will be the cutoff race for the round of 8 on October 29th at Martinsville Raceway, which will be the second to last race on the NASCAR Cup Series schedule. Martinsville Speedway is the perfect race before you go into the season finale event. Martinsville is very exciting. The beating, the banging, the short track tempers, the hot dogs, of course. You see all of that and all of them go out full swing. Martinsville Speedway will be the second to last race on the NASCAR Cup Series schedule. And finally, on November the 5th, we are making our return to a track that hasn't hosted the season finale since 2019. We are going to have Homestead Miami Speedway make its return to the season finale for the first time in a few years. In 2022, NASCAR will have Homestead Miami Speedway as the middle race of the round of 8. But I think that most fans will agree that Homestead Miami Speedway deserves to have the season finale date. While you have really great racing going on, while you have the playoff contenders being the drivers going for the win, you also have great racing throughout the pack. And I think it proved this past year in 2021 that the racing can be very, very good. And I think that Homestead Miami Speedway will take the season finale date in 2023. So, anyway, those are my 2023 NASCAR Cup Series schedule predictions. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, notifications so you notified when a video does go live on my channel. Follow my Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support Patreon as well. Link description below for that, and combo your predictions for the 2023 season. What race do you think will begin the opening portion of the year, and what race do you think will end the end of the 2023 season? Let me know in the comments below. Anyway, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's video, and I'll see you guys next time for some more great and awesome NASCAR content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.